The television courtroom had never seen arrogance quite like this before. Camila Rothel, a 42-year-old real estate millionaire worth nearly $47 million, sat inside Judge Evelyn Carver's courtroom with the kind of confidence that only comes from a lifetime of escaping consequences. Her perfectly styled blonde hair looked fresh from an expensive salon appointment, framing a face filled with superiority and contempt. She wore a cream-colored Chanel suit worth over $12,000, diamond earrings more expensive than most people's yearly income, and a matching bracelet that sparkled under the courtroom lights every time she waved her hand dismissively. Sitting beside her was a limited edition Hermes Birkin bag worth $45,000, displayed almost like a trophy proving her status. Everything about Camila Rothel screamed money, power, and absolute certainty that she was untouchable. She walked into Judge Evelyn Carver's courtroom that Tuesday morning fully convinced she would humiliate the woman daring to challenge her, a housekeeper who, in Camila's mind, should have remembered her place. What Camila said to Judge Evelyn Carver only minutes later would horrify the entire courtroom audience and instantly turn her into one of the most hated women in America. The moment that destroyed Camila's life arrived suddenly during a heated argument about unpaid wages. Camila leaned forward and pointed a perfectly manicured finger directly at Judge Evelyn Carver, a woman famous for destroying arrogant defendants on national television for more than 20 years. Then Camila spoke the words that would echo across social media millions of times. "You clearly don't understand how rich people operate, Judge. Maybe if you actually had real money, you'd understand." The silence afterward was suffocating. The bailiff froze. Audience members stared in disbelief. Even the production crew stopped moving. No one, absolutely no one, had ever been foolish enough to insult Judge Evelyn Carver's intelligence and financial status at the same time. Judge Evelyn Carver slowly narrowed her eyes into the cold stare that longtime viewers recognized immediately. The expression that meant someone was about to be completely destroyed, her hands folded calmly together on the bench. Her jaw tightened slightly, and for 5 long seconds she stared directly at Camila with the kind of intensity that should have warned any reasonable person they had just made the worst mistake imaginable. But Camila smiled. She actually believed she had won that exchange. What happened next transformed Camila Rothel from a smug millionaire into a national cautionary tale shared across every major platform online. This was no longer a routine courtroom dispute. This was about to become a complete public annihilation. Camila had spent her entire life believing wealth protected her from consequences, accountability, and even basic human decency. But Judge Evelyn Carver had been preparing for this moment from the instant Camila entered the courtroom. Every innocent question, the judge asked, had secretly been building a trap, and what Judge Evelyn Carver was about to reveal about Camila's hidden criminal history, her abuse of household workers, and the fabricated evidence she used against an innocent woman would expose a dark reality about how some wealthy people treat those they consider beneath them. Camila Rothel entered that courtroom expecting to embarrass a housekeeper on television. Instead, she was about to learn that inside Judge Evelyn Carver's courtroom, designer clothes meant nothing, money bought nothing, and arrogance always received exactly what it deserved. The case technically centered around $3,500. 2 weeks of wages Camila had stolen by placing a stop payment on a signed paycheck, but the real issue ran much deeper. This was about privilege, power, and what happens when someone wealthy becomes convinced they are above the law and above humanity itself. Camila had spent years terrorizing household employees because she knew most of them were too vulnerable, too afraid, or too financially desperate to fight back. And now, for the first time, someone finally had Isabella Cruz, a 58-year-old immigrant housekeeper who had spent over 2 decades cleaning Beverly Hills mansions, sat nervously at the plaintiff's table. Her worn hands clutched a battered folder filled with evidence capable of destroying Camila's entire case. Text messages documenting abuse, banking records proving the stopped payment, and most importantly, security footage exposing Camila's theft accusation as a complete lie. The night before the hearing, Isabella prayed desperately for justice. She feared that no one would believe the word of a poor immigrant woman over a millionaire with expensive lawyers and powerful connections. What she didn't know was that she was about to witness one of the most brutal courtroom takedowns in television history. Meanwhile, Camila remained completely unaware that Judge Evelyn Carver had spent the previous evening personally digging through sealed records, contacting former employers, interviewing previous household staff, and uncovering a disturbing pattern of abuse. Judge Evelyn Carver discovered Camila's sealed juvenile arrest for credit card fraud, a case buried years earlier by expensive family attorneys. She uncovered statements from 6 former housekeepers who all described identical behavior: false theft accusations, withheld wages, emotional abuse, and humiliation tactics. And most devastating of all, she obtained footage from Camila's own home security system, proving that the bracelet Camila claimed was stolen had never even left her home. Judge Evelyn Carver had built a case so devastating that Camila Rothel's privileged world was about to explode on national television. Camila still believed her wealth would intimidate everyone. She had no idea the most powerful thing in that courtroom wasn't money, it was the truth. And Judge Evelyn Carver already possessed all of it. Isabella Cruz had arrived in America 31 years earlier from a small village in Guatemala, carrying only $200, limited English, and dreams of creating a better future for her children. For 23 years, she worked tirelessly as a housekeeper for wealthy Beverly Hills families, building a reputation for honesty, reliability, and professionalism. Her roughened hands told the story of decades spent scrubbing floors, polishing silver, and sacrificing her own comfort for her family's future. She cleaned homes for movie producers, executives, and wealthy old money families. Every one of them gave glowing references. She became the woman people trusted with their homes, valuables, and even children. Through 60-hour workweeks, Isabella managed to send all 3 of her children to college. Her oldest daughter became a nurse, her son became a mathematics teacher, and her youngest daughter was studying medicine. Isabella protected her spotless reputation fiercely because in domestic work, reputation meant survival. That's what made Camila's betrayal so devastating. 18 months earlier, Isabella had been hired through one of Los Angeles' most prestigious domestic staffing agencies. Camila agreed to pay her $35 an hour to maintain her massive Beverly Hills mansion. Initially, everything seemed normal. Camila traveled constantly, and Isabella took pride in caring for the enormous property with perfection. She arrived at 7 every morning and often worked until evening, sometimes staying late without charging extra. Because Isabella believed in doing honest work correctly. But slowly, Camila's behavior changed. The demands became impossible. She expected a 12,000-square-foot mansion cleaned in 4 hours, despite industry standards requiring at least 8. Isabella was forced to use absurdly expensive cleaning products that she had to sign out individually like controlled substances. Camila ordered her never to speak to her husband or children, as though Isabella's presence itself somehow contaminated them. Weekends and holidays became mandatory with no additional pay or notice. Still, Isabella tried to endure it. She skipped lunches, worked through exhaustion, and stayed late because she needed the job. Then the accusations began. At first, small items supposedly disappeared: a decorative candle, a towel, a paperweight. Each time Isabella denied taking anything, and every time Camila conveniently found the missing item days later, but she never apologized. Instead, the accusations escalated: an expensive vase, Luxensaw pillows, luxury soaps. And Camila always accused Isabella publicly in front of wealthy friends during wine gatherings designed specifically to humiliate her. Isabella stood silently while rich women exchanged judgmental looks and whispered about dishonest workers. Camila loved it. This wasn't about missing objects, it was about control. Power humiliation, Camila enjoyed forcing Isabella to defend herself repeatedly against lies. It became a ritual, twice a week sometimes. Camila would summon Isabella into rooms filled with guests, point toward an empty spot on a shelf, and loudly announce that something valuable had vanished. Her friends would immediately suggest firing Isabella or contacting police. And Isabella had to endure it because her rent, her daughter's tuition, and her future depended on surviving. The breaking point finally arrived late one Saturday. Camila demanded Isabella clean the entire mansion before a dinner party starting in 6 hours. Isabella had already worked 50 exhausting hours that week. Her back ached, her hands burned from chemicals, and she was exhausted in every possible way. Politely, she explained that cleaning the mansion properly before the party would take far longer than the time available. Camila's response was cold and venomous. I pay you, which means I own your time. Something inside Isabella finally snapped, not her dignity, not her spirit, only her willingness to accept abuse. She looked Camilla directly in the eye and quietly said, "Mrs. Rothel, I am a human being, not your property. I have worked hard for you for 18 months, but I will not continue being treated this way. I'm giving my 2 weeks' notice." The change in Camilla's face was immediate and terrifying. The fake politeness disappeared instantly. "You'll regret that," she hissed. "When I'm finished, no one in this city will hire you again." And Camilla kept that promise on Isabella's final day. After 2 professional weeks finishing her duties with dignity, Camilla handed her a check for $3,500 covering her last wages. Relieved, Isabella deposited the money immediately. For 3 days, she believed the nightmare was finally over. Then police officers appeared at her apartment. Camilla had filed a report accusing Isabella of stealing a $15,000 bracelet. The officers searched Isabella's apartment but found nothing because there was nothing to find. But the damage had already begun later. That same day, Isabella discovered her bank account was massively overdrawn. Camilla had cancelled the paycheck after Isabella deposited it. Bills bounced, rent bounced. Medical school tuition payments bounced. And Camilla still wasn't finished. Within days, she contacted staffing agencies across Los Angeles, spreading stories about a dishonest housekeeper who stole jewelry from wealthy families. 80% of Isabella's income disappeared almost overnight. Clients cancelled, new employers vanished, and Isabella's daughter was forced to leave medical school. Then Camilla filed a lawsuit demanding $18,500. $15,000 for the bracelet Isabella never touched, and another $3,500, claiming Isabella performed poor work and didn't deserve her wages. The lawsuit was designed to bury Isabella permanently. But Camilla overlooked one critical mistake. Isabella documented everything. Every threatening text, every false accusation, every bounced payment, every conversation. And by the time producers from Judge Evelyn Carver's show reviewed the evidence, they immediately recognized the case would explode nationally. Camilla entered the courtroom strutting confidently in designer heels, looking at Isabella with complete disgust. She deliberately displayed her expensive handbag in full camera view as a status symbol. Audience members immediately sensed her entitlement. Judge Evelyn Carver watched calmly. "Miss Rothel," she began, "you're suing Miss Cruz for $18,500. Explain your claim." Camilla instantly launched into dramatic performance. "This woman violated my trust in the most disgusting way imaginable," she announced. "I treated her like family, and she repaid me by stealing from me." Judge Evelyn Carver immediately noticed the manipulation. "How much did you pay her?" $35 an hour. "Extremely generous for cleaning work." "How large is your home?" 12,000 square feet. "And how many hours did she work weekly?" Camilla waved dismissively. "I don't know exactly. When you have money, you don't worry about details like that." The courtroom stirred uncomfortably. Judge Evelyn Carver leaned forward. "You employed her and never tracked her hours?" Camilla looked annoyed. "When you hire staff, you pay for results." Judge Evelyn Carver continued strategically. "When did you notice the bracelet missing?" "The day after her final shift." "And you're certain she stole it? Who else would have?" "She had access to my bedroom." Judge Evelyn Carver's tone sharpened. "Assumptions are not evidence." Then came the fatal moment. Judge Evelyn Carver explained calmly that withholding wages was illegal regardless of personal disputes. Frustrated, Camilla interrupted with a condescending smile. "Judge, I understand you need to act tough for cameras, but in the real world, when someone steals from you, you don't reward them with wages." Judge Evelyn Carver stared coldly. "Are you suggesting I don't understand the real world?" Camilla doubled down. "I'm simply saying you probably don't understand luxury environments or managing household staff. Being a judge is different from actually building wealth." The courtroom froze. Then Camilla delivered the sentence that destroyed her life forever. "You clearly don't understand how rich people operate, Judge. Maybe if you had real money, you'd understand." Gasps erupted. Judge Evelyn Carver remained silent for 5 terrifying seconds, then quietly said, "Miss Rothel, did you just suggest I'm too poor to understand wealthy people?" Camilla attempted backtracking. Judge Evelyn Carver cut her off immediately. "Stop talking." Then she reached for the thick folder sitting on her desk, the folder Camilla ignored. The folder, containing enough evidence to destroy her entire life, Judge Evelyn Carver slowly removed the first document. "This is your arrest report from 2001, she said calmly. "You were arrested for credit card fraud after stealing your college roommate's cards and charging thousands of dollars in luxury items." Camila turned pale instantly. "That record is sealed." Judge Evelyn Carver smiled coldly. "Sealed records may be reopened in civil matters involving credibility and repeated behavior patterns." Then came more documents, more evidence. "You received counseling requirements that you never completed. Your probation officers described you as entitled, manipulative, and convinced your family's wealth exempted you from consequences." Camila tried interrupting. Judge Evelyn Carver silenced her instantly, then she delivered the final blow. Statements from 6 former housekeepers describing identical abuse with accusations, withheld wages, psychological torment, and finally, the photograph. Judge Evelyn Carver held it up. "This is your bracelet, correct?" Camila nodded nervously. Judge Evelyn Carver's voice cut through the courtroom. "This image was captured by your own security system 3 days after Miss Cruz stopped working for you." The courtroom exploded. The bracelet sat clearly visible on Camila's bathroom counter, inside her locked bedroom. After Isabella no longer worked there, Camila panicked. That must be another bracelet. Judge Evelyn Carver immediately produced insurance records matching the serial number exactly. The audience burst into applause. Isabella cried uncontrollably with relief. Judge Evelyn Carver delivered judgment coldly and precisely. Judgment for Miss Cruz. She ordered Camila to repay the stolen wages, then added $15,000 for defamation, emotional distress, and destroyed income, then another $25,000 in punitive damages. Total judgment, $43,500. Camila looked physically ill. "That's outrageous." Judge Evelyn Carver cut her off instantly. "This ruling is binding, but she wasn't finished. I am also referring this matter to the Los Angeles District Attorney. Filing false police reports and wage theft are criminal offenses." Camila's composure collapsed completely. Her expensive makeup streaked with tears as reality finally crushed her privileged fantasy world. Within hours, the clip of her insulting Judge Evelyn Carver exploded online, gaining over 150 million views in a week. Her friends abandoned her. Staffing agencies blacklisted her, and prosecutors filed criminal charges. Meanwhile, viewers donated over $127,000 to help Isabella's daughter return to medical school. Isabella later launched a non-profit organization helping immigrant workers protect their rights. The case became legendary. California lawmakers even introduced new protections for domestic workers inspired directly by Isabella's story. And Camila Rothel's name became permanently associated with arrogant, wealthy people finally facing consequences. Because in Judge Evelyn Carver's courtroom, money never defeated the truth.